I will never forget the night screams filled our village. They were not the screams of childbirth or the wails of mourning after death. These were different. These were the screams of a girl whose life had just been ruined because of a rule she did not create. In my village, Bansila, there was one law that never changed. The older daughter must marry first. It did not matter if she was loved, ugly, kind, cruel, rich, or poor. The younger daughters could not marry until the firstborn daughter's head was covered with the white cloth of marriage. Everyone feared this law, but no one questioned it. It was said to be caused by the ancestors. Anyone who broke it would invite shame and death. I was there. I saw what happened to the Kamara family. They had two daughters, Adama, the firstborn, and her younger sister, Mariama. Adama was 25, tall, dark-skinned, with sharp cheekbones and a serious face. She was not ugly, but she carried herself with a kind of heaviness that made men stay away. She was quiet, too quiet, and her eyes often looked as if she was hiding something inside. Mariama was the opposite. She was 19, light-skinned, small in size, with big bright eyes that could melt the hardest heart. She laughed easily, moved with grace, and had the kind of beauty that made men fight in the market just to get her attention. Everyone whispered the same thing. If not for Adama, Mariama would have been married long ago. That was the problem. Men came for Mariama, not Adama. But tradition did not care about beauty. It did not care about who was wanted and who was not. The older one must go first. I remember the first time it became serious. A man from the next village, a trader named Musa, came to ask for Mariama's hand. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and had a booming laugh. He brought palm oil, yams, and two fat goats as gifts. The family was happy, but when the elders sat down, they shook their heads. The older one must marry first, the chief elder said. That is the way. The gifts were returned. Musa left angry, and Mariama cried for 3 days. Adama said nothing. She only watched her sister with those heavy eyes of hers, like a shadow that would not go away. People began to talk. Some said Adama was cursed, that no man wanted her because of something in her blood. Others said she was proud and refused suitors in secret. Whatever the reason, she remained in her father's house, and as long as she stayed, Mariama's life was tied down like a goat waiting for slaughter. I was their neighbor. I grew up with them. I saw everything. And I can tell you this, it was not only Mariama who was desperate. Adama too was drowning. She wanted freedom. She wanted marriage. But year after year, no man came. The pressure from her parents, the whispers in the village, the shame of being the unmarried elder daughter crushed her like a stone. And then came the night when everything changed. It started with a secret that Adama hid from her family, a secret that was like fire, waiting to burn everything down. The secret came out because of a man. His name was Alhaji Sore. He was not from our village. He was a trader who passed through often with his caravan, selling kola nuts, salt, and cloth. He was rich, respected, and already had two wives, but that did not stop him from looking at women the way a hunter looks at meat. One evening, I saw him standing outside the Kamara compound, talking with Adama in the shadows. I remember it clearly because it shocked me. No one ever came for Adama, and yet here was Alhaji Sore holding her wrist, whispering in her ear. She looked nervous but also desperate, like someone clinging to the last rope before drowning. Later that week, people began to whisper again, but this time it was not about Mariama. It was about Adama. Some said Al-Aji had been visiting her at night. Others swore they saw him leave her hut before dawn. At first, I didn't believe it, but then one night I couldn't sleep and I heard footsteps outside. I peeped through my window and there he was, the trader, sneaking into the Camara compound like a thief. That was when I knew the whispers were true. Adama was not waiting for marriage. She was entangled with a man who had no intention of marrying her. Weeks passed. People started to notice changes in Adama. She walked differently. She looked tired. And sometimes she placed her hand on her stomach without realizing it. The women in the village began to suspect. That girl is pregnant, they whispered. If it was true, then shame was coming. Because in our village, no older daughter could get married with a swollen belly. It would mean Mariama's future was finished. But Mariama, poor girl, knew nothing. She was too busy fighting her own pain. Another man had come for her, a young farmer named Musa, not the trader from before, another one. He was handsome, hardworking, and from a respected family. He brought palm wine, chicken, and bags of rice to Mariama's father. For once the family smiled with hope. Mariama was glowing, a heart full of love. She told me privately, "This is the man I want. I will follow him even if my sister never marries." But everyone knew it was not possible. The elders sat again, and once more the law was spoken. The older daughter must marry first. Musa left angry, cursing under his breath, and Mariama fell sick from crying. Her beauty was still there, but her spirit began to fade. I could see the hatred growing between the sisters. Mariama never said it, but her eyes told the story. She blamed Adama for blocking her life, and Adama, carrying her secret with Alhaji, was trapped in her own shame. Things got worse when Mariama discovered the truth. One night she followed Adama. She saw with her own eyes when Alhaji Soriye sneaked into the compound. She saw her sister meet him in the dark. She saw their hands touch, their bodies too close. She told me about it the next day. Her voice shook with anger. Can you believe it? While my life is wasting away, she's sleeping with a man who will never marry her. She's holding me down. She's selfish. She is cursed. From that moment, Mariama changed. The sweet, laughing girl I knew became bitter. She no longer smiled. She avoided her sister, avoided everyone. Sometimes I even saw her looking at Adama like she wanted to strangle her in her sleep. But the most painful part was this. Alhaji Sore had no plans to marry Adama. He was only using her. Everyone could see it except her. And then, one morning, the truth spilled like blood on the ground. Adama fainted at the market. Women rushed to her, and when they touched her belly, they knew she was pregnant. That day was the beginning of the nightmares. The market silence that morning was the heaviest I had ever felt. Adama lay on the ground, sweating, her wrapper half loose, and the women around her were whispering the word everyone feared: pregnant. By evening, the news had spread through the entire village. You could hear it in every corner, at the well, in the farms, even in the chief's compound. The Kamara family was finished, their first daughter unmarried, carrying the child of a man who already had wives. It was like a curse had walked into their home. That night, the compound was full of angry voices. Adama's father, Pa Kamara, shouted until his throat was dry. "You have disgraced us. You have disgraced this family." He struck Adama with the back of his hand, and she fell, crying. Her mother tried to protect her, but she too was trembling with shame. "Adama, why? Why would you do this? Do you not know your sister's future depends on you?" Adama said nothing. She just held her belly and sobbed. Mariama, who had been silent for days, finally spoke. Her voice was like a knife. Now I see. She never wanted me to be happy. She tied my life down because she knew no one wanted her. And now she's carrying a bastard child while I sit here wasting away. The words broke the last piece of Adama's heart. She screamed back at her sister, her voice shaking with pain. Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I chose this life? I was lonely. I was tired of being laughed at, tired of men choosing you and leaving me. I only wanted to feel like I mattered. I only wanted love. But Mariama didn't care. She spat on the ground and turned away. The fight between them tore the family apart. Their father refused to eat for days. Their mother aged overnight, and Mariama began to plot. You see, in our village, a younger daughter could not marry, while her older sister remained unmarried. But there was one hidden path. If the older sister was proven to be cursed, unworthy, or if something terrible happened to her, then the law could be bent. Mariama knew this. She began to whisper to people, spreading poison. Adama is cursed. She's carrying the child of a man who belongs to others. The ancestors will never accept her. If she remains in this village, no girl will ever marry again. The whispers spread like wildfire. People stopped greeting Adama. Women refused to sit beside her at the well. Children mocked her in the streets, shouting, Shame, shame. And then came the betrayal that cut deeper than any knife. One night, Mariama followed Alhaji Sori. Instead of confronting him, she allowed him to touch her. Yes, her sister's man. The same man who had ruined Adama now placed his hands on Mariama too. I did not see it with my eyes, but I heard the truth later from someone who walked past the bush path that night. He swore he saw them together, Mariama and Alhaji, whispering, laughing like lovers. When I heard it, my stomach turned. Betrayal does not always come from enemies. Sometimes it comes from your own blood. Mariama thought she was clever. She thought if she gave herself to Alhaji, he would choose her instead. That maybe he would leave Adama, marry her, and free her from the curse of waiting. But Alhaji was a snake. He had no intention of marrying either of them. He was already bragging in the next village that he had tasted both sisters of the Kamara house. When the truth finally came out, it was too late. Adama heard it first. Someone whispered to her at the well. She rushed home, confronted Mariama, and the fight that followed shook the whole compound. The two sisters tore at each other's clothes, slapped, kicked, screamed curses that should never be spoken between blood. Mariama shouted, At least he wanted me. At least I did not have to beg him. And Adama, with tears flooding her eyes, screamed, You have killed me. You are my blood and you have killed me. Their mother fell to the ground, weeping. Their father locked himself inside his hut, refusing to look at either of them. That night, Adama left the compound. No one saw where she went. Some said she walked into the bush. Others swore they saw her heading towards the river with a white cloth tied around her head. She did not return. By morning, the river carried a wrapper that belonged to her. The village said she drowned herself. But me, I am not sure. The way the dogs howled that night, the way the wind moved through the trees, it felt like something darker took her. And that was when the curse began to show itself. When Adama's wrapper was found floating in the river, the village shook with fear. Some people said she had killed herself. Others whispered she had been taken by the water spirits. A few swore she was still alive, hiding somewhere in shame. But one thing was certain. Adama was gone, and Mariama was free. At least that was what people thought. The elders gathered to discuss. According to tradition, the older daughter must marry first. But if the older daughter was dead or taken by spirits, then the path was open for the younger one. The Kamara family, desperate to wash away shame, begged for the law to bend. The chief finally agreed. The ancestors will understand, he said. The younger daughter must not waste her youth. Let her marry. And so Mariama's wedding was arranged. I remember the night before it happened. The compound was full of drummers, women pounding rice, and men bringing palm wine. Mariama was smiling again, glowing with happiness. She wore a new lapa, her hair in fine braids, her eyes shining. But there was something in the air that I could not explain. The goats refused to sleep, the dogs barked all night, staring toward the river. Even the moon seemed dim, hiding behind clouds. I could not sleep, so I walked past the Kamara compound, and that was when I saw something that froze my blood. At the edge of the compound, near the mango tree, there was a figure, a woman. Her wrapper was dripping wet, her hair hung over her face. She was standing very still, staring at the house. I blinked, and she was gone. The next morning, I tried to tell someone, but my words stuck in my throat. Who would believe me? They would say I was cursed for speaking such things before a wedding. The ceremony went on. The drummers beat their drums, the women danced, and Mariama sat in the center like a queen, her face painted, her wrists heavy with beads. The young farmer, Musa, sat proudly beside her, smiling like a man who had finally won his prize. Everyone was happy, everyone except me. When the time came for the blessing, the chief elder lifted his staff and spoke the words that joined Mariama and Musa as husband and wife. The crowd shouted, clapped, and threw rice into the air. But then it happened. From the distance, a scream tore through the air. A woman's scream, sharp and painful, coming from the direction of the river. The drums stopped. The dancing stopped. Everyone froze. Who is that? People whispered. Before anyone could answer, the wind blew hard, scattering the rice, shaking the palm trees. The goats ran wild. The chickens flew into the air. And then she appeared, Adama. She walked into the compound slowly, her wrapper torn and soaked, her face pale, her eyes wide like a mad woman. Water dripped from her hair, her arms, her legs, as if she had just risen from the river itself. The crowd gasped. Some women screamed and fell to the ground. Men stepped back, crossing themselves, whispering prayers. Mariama stood frozen, her face draining of color. Musa tried to step in front of her, but his hands shook. Adama's voice was low, but it carried like thunder. You took my man. You took my life, and now you take my place? Mariama stammered. Adama, I thought you were dead. But Adama laughed, a sound that made the air colder. Dead? I am not dead. I am cursed. And now so are you. The beads on Mariama's wrists broke, scattering across the ground. The drums fell silent. The chief elder dropped his staff. Adama pointed at her sister. This wedding will not stand. The ancestors will not accept it, and neither will I. Then, before anyone could move, she turned and walked back towards the river. The crowd parted in silence, watching her disappear into the trees. Mariama fell to the ground, trembling, her face in her hands. Musa stood helpless, staring after Adama as if he had just seen a ghost. The wedding feast ended in fear. No one ate, no one danced. People left in silence, whispering that the curse of the first daughter had risen. That night, Mariama locked herself inside her hut. She did not sleep. No one in the Kamara compound did. By morning, the news spread again. Adama had been seen walking near the river at dawn, singing softly to herself, but no one dared approach her. And Mariama's wedding? It was as if it had never happened. The curse had spoken. After the failed wedding, Kubansila village was never the same. People no longer spoke of joy when they mentioned the Kamara family. They spoke only of fear. Adama was no longer seen as a daughter of the village. She was now something else, a woman touched by the river spirits, cursed, walking between the living and the dead. At first, she only appeared near the river. People would see her at dawn, sitting on the rocks, singing to her belly as if rocking an invisible child. Fishermen refused to go near that place. They swore the water moved strangely whenever she was there, as if it was breathing with her. Then she started appearing in the village at night. One evening, a woman fetching water said she saw Adama standing by her compound, staring silently before disappearing. Another man swore he heard her crying outside his window, calling his daughter's name. No one could explain how she moved without footsteps or why the dogs never barked when she passed. The fear grew. Parents warned their children never to go out after dark. Pregnant women tied charms around their bellies. The chief even sent a messenger to the next village asking a diviner to come. But while the village trembled, the Kamara family was breaking apart. Mariama stopped eating. She sat in her hut all day, her once beautiful face now hollow, her eyes red from crying. She refused to talk to anyone, not even her mother. Sometimes I would hear her whispering to herself, "She will come for me. She will not stop until I am gone." And she was right. It began with dreams. Mariama screamed at night, waking the whole compound. She said she saw Adama standing over her bed, dripping wet, whispering, "You took my man. You took my place. Now you will take my pain." At first, people thought they were just nightmares, but then the marks started to appear. Scratches on Mariama's arms, bruises on her legs, as if invisible hands were dragging her in her sleep. Her mother tried to protect her with charms, but they broke. Her father tried to send her away to relatives in another village, but every time they prepared the journey, Mariama fell sick with fever. And then, one night, it happened. I will never forget it. The moon was full, the whole village asleep, when a scream tore through the darkness. It was Mariama's voice, high and sharp, like someone being strangled. People rushed to the Kamara compound with lanterns. We found her hut locked from the inside. Her mother was banging on the door, crying. Her father was shouting, "Open! Open!" When they finally broke the door, what we saw will haunt me forever. Mariama was lying on the floor, her wrapper torn, her face twisted in terror. Her eyes were wide open, staring at nothing, her lips frozen mid scream. She was dead. But that was not the worst part. On the wall above her bed, written in dripping water, were the words, "The older must go first." The room went cold. The lantern flames flickered as if the air itself was afraid. Some people ran out screaming. Others fell to their knees, praying. But I stood frozen, because in that moment I knew it was not just a law, it was a curse as old as the village itself, a curse that had claimed Mariama because her family tried to break it. The burial was quiet. No drums, no singing, just silence. The chief ordered that her body be buried quickly before sunset, as if the earth itself might refuse her. After that night, no one saw Adama again. Some said she had gone back into the river for good, her work done. Others swore they still saw her shadow sometimes, moving through the trees. The Kamara family left Bansila soon after. Their compound was abandoned, the doors falling, the roof eaten by termites. No one dared to live there again. Children ran past it, never near it. At night, people said they still heard weeping inside. As for the rule, it never changed. If anything, it became stronger. From that day, no family in Bansila ever dared to marry off a younger daughter before the elder one. Even if the elder was ugly, cursed, or unwanted, she had to marry first. No one wanted the cause of the Kamara sisters to return. And me, I still carry the memory. Every time I hear wedding drums in the village, I remember the scream that ended Mariama's life. I remember the wet figure of Adama pointing at her sister, and I remember the words on that wall, written in water as if by an unseen hand. The older must go first. That was the law. That was the cause. And in Bansila, no one dares break it again. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like, subscribe, and share for more amazing stories.